Full metal kit, grip wrap delete, updated spring and cylinder. Let's talk about this post-apocalyptic Hammershot. Hello friends, hello YouTube, how are you doing? Rainbow here with another Nerf mod video. It's been a while that I put one of these out, but it doesn't mean that I stopped making Nerf mods. I still love painting blasters, even though it's been a lot of 3D printing lately. But here we go. Without any further ado, let's talk about this one. So this is a modded Nerf Hammershot with a bunch of things that happened to it. First off, this was a commission for a good friend, a German fellow Nerf modder, and player at every single game that I've been to. So this is for Crash, and he gave me an image look about this, and he went like no military numbers and signage, but roughly around there, and otherwise go. So that's what I made from it. I actually quite like it, but this project was a lot of fun, and it's got a couple of things that you don't have in your standard Hammershot mod. A couple of things that happened to it. Let's go from the inside out. So this is rocking the Blaster Parts full metal trigger set, as well as the upgrade spring in here, but then it has the Orange Modworks cylinder. So it's a 6-shot cylinder from Orange Modworks, and yes, I just given this a new paint job. Originally that one was black, but he wanted it with those warning stripes and a little bit of burn and scorching of, on the barrels. Have a close-up look of this. That was actually quite fun to do, because I always thought these cylinders are metal, but they're not. They're actually just painted to look metal. They're full-on plastic, which, makes sense. Otherwise, they would be super heavy. But yeah, so that was fairly easy to then actually paint. Just sand it down and then give it a paint job. Speaking of sanding down, the one thing I've done to this, which actually was the most work, is sanding down the grip. So this fake wrap that's normally around the handle right there, he wanted me to delete that because he wants to do a proper leather wrap but on a solid flat base. So this is what we're looking at. If you've never done this, I have a couple of tips that might make your life easier. So first off, if you just sand down everything, you end up with a bunch of holes in your grip, because obviously this being injection molded where the fake wrap normally is, plastic is just hollow on the, like it goes out, and then there's, hollow on the inside where the wrap is. So if you sand all that down, you end up with a hole. So what I ended up doing is I just sanded it a little bit till I sort of noticed the plastic getting really thin, and then I opened the blaster and on the inside reinforced the entire grip with epoxy sculpt. So basically I think it's about 2.5 to 3 millimeters everywhere around this, which also gives this a nice weight. But there's one thing you got to be aware. Obviously the spring sits on the inside, so you got to make sure before the epoxy sculpt dries, you push it in all those corners so the internals can actually fit in there with the grip properly closing. But once that's done, and once that's all set and dried, then I sanded down the rest, and then you end up like, there's actually like a very big hole over here, and one over here, where all the plastic's gone in, but then you're sanding the epoxy sculpt, which is already rock solid, so that's all fair and square. And when you paint it over, you're not going to see the difference. And I know he said he's going to do a full leather wrap around, but I still, I had to kind of give it a wooden look, sort of base paint, so that when you wrap this, it still would look like a proper pistol grip. And I actually quite like how this turned out. In saying that, I probably spent about 3 hours in total just on that handle with all the sanding and everything, obviously not counting the time the epoxy sculpt needed to dry, but there was a lot of work involved in this. So once the grip was done and nice and smooth, I made sure that the internals fit on the inside and that I could still close it. That's a very important thing to do, because epoxy sculpt, when it dries out, it weirdly enough sometimes tends to still move a little bit. So and given that there's not a lot of space, because I wanted to use all the space I have to reinforce the grip and give it some weight, I spent a lot of time on making sure that this fits in there nicely. Once that was done, I gave the entire blaster a little bit of a sand with like a 400 grit sandpaper, just so the paint would stick to it a lot better. Just basic paint job preparation, really. And so coming in with the paint job, I did a primer. This is my standard universal primer, 2 layers of automotive silver, and then in this case I let them dry completely, and then I airbrushed most of it, so like all these metal parts are airbrushed. This silver is the automotive silver, but then with a little bit of airbrush effect over the top to make it look a little bit used, and you know, the green is hand painted using Citadel model colors, like, you know, the ones you use for the miniatures, because I had this perfect matching army green, and so I came in with this. And once that was done, I took the airbrush again with some black and did all, you know, the dirt and the grime and around the corners and everything. And then last but not least, the very last detail, the wear and tear, the worn down metal look, that's done with gilding wax. I really love this stuff. I really love working with it. It's similar to Rub and Buff, and yeah, it's just fantastic. Like, it gives this such a metal, shine metal look, even then it's on the cylinder as well as the sides of the blaster. This is absolutely fantastic. I love working with this stuff because it's so easy. If you guys have never worked with gilding wax, if you want a tutorial on how that's done, let me know and I can make one next year. The barrel itself was a couple of more steps because I did tape all the layers. I painted yellow first and then I taped it, and then I got the black over it, took the tape off, then I did some more black airbrushing, then I did the scorched effect and everything, and then I did the metal. I have a, you know, shorts video, I think they're called, somewhere up here on YouTube as well, so you can see the individual steps of that. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. Before I finished the paint job with 3 layers of clear coat, I put a number on it and a name, and as per the number in this case is LS-86, so we're up to 86 on running number of Nerf mods, and the LC in this particular case stands for Leandri Corp, because that apparently is a thing in the setting that they play, so I thought it was fitting to just have LCLS86. And then, you know, finish it off with a couple of layers of clear coat, let it dry, put it together, and there we are. I gotta be honest, the internals, he already sent them to me, like he already sent this installed in the base blaster, so I didn't do much more to it. And yeah, otherwise it fires just a normal standard elite dart. So you just put your dart in here, you prime the blaster just like so, and then you're done. I really like how this turned out. I really like the grip delete, even if it's like a lot of work, but it does give it a nice feel. Still love the Hammershot as a platform. I've modded a bunch of Hammershots. Lots of the videos are here on the channel, so if you haven't seen those, you know, go check them out. And other than that, there's not much more to say about this. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. If you're interested in a commission like that, the email is in the description as well. And otherwise, as always, leave a like and a sub and the usual spat. Love you very much. And Merry Christmas, guys. And I see you just after Christmas with a special video. Stay tuned. Love and sunshine.